between games here at the game table. And before we get into the next one, it's discussion time. This is Table Topics, where we read stories from Reddit having to do with situations in the tabletop world. We will react, discuss, and give our opinions on the chosen topics for you to enjoy and possibly take back to your gaming table. I'm your host, Kalee, and my guest today is Ashley.
Hello.
Today's topic is out-of-game feelings. So let's get into it. Ashley, have you ever gotten your feelings hurt over a game?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I feel like I've never taken gaming that serious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's just always been something that I've done for fun. How about you?
Definitely as a child.
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to think of an adult example, which I'm not sure that I have one. I've definitely been annoyed as an adult, but I don't know that I've ever left and carried that feeling into my real life after a board game. But definitely as a child, I'm sure my sister and I got into several spats over something.
Very true. I was not thinking of it from a childhood perspective, but I can guarantee likely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're going to talk about some of these instances where people are taking something very personal that happened in a game and taking it back into their regular lives. But we're actually going to start with a story that's more general. It's more just about the architecture of being a gamer in either way, video games, board games, whatever. And I think you might relate to this specifically because my understanding is that you and Derek have a board game room in your house.
We do.
I have seen it, and it's very nice. So this story has to deal with that. And it comes from r/relationship advice from a throwaway account. I, 25 female, argued with my husband, 27 male, and called him a loser for having a room dedicated to video games and board games. Now he wants to break up.
Wow.
So I know I probably messed up badly, but I really need some outside perspective on this because I'm spiraling. My husband, 27 male, and I, 25 female, have been married for 2 years and together for 4. He's always been a wonderful partner, sweet, loyal, and incredibly intelligent. He's also slightly autistic, which has never been an issue in our relationship, but I think it's relevant for context. One of the things that's always been a big part of his life is his love for video games, board games, and D&D. When we moved in together, he asked if he could dedicate one of the spare rooms in our house as a gaming room. It's basically his happy place. He's got shelves full of board games, a setup for video gaming, and even a table he uses when he hosts D&D nights with his friends. I agreed to it back then because I wanted him to feel at home, but if I'm being honest, it started to grate on me over time. Yesterday, we had an argument about something trivial. I was doing some deep cleaning and I asked him to help. He said he couldn't because he had a gaming session planned with his friends. I lost it. I told him something like, maybe if you weren't such a loser wasting your time in that stupid room, you'd actually know how to act like an adult. The moment the words came out of my mouth, I regretted them. His face just crumbled. He didn't yell or anything, just said, I don't think I can do this anymore, and walked away. I tried to apologize immediately, but he wouldn't talk to me. This morning, he said he feels like I don't respect him or his hobbies, and that he's not sure he wants to stay married to someone who thinks so little of him. He also mentioned that because of his autism, the hobbies that I see as childish are actually how he decompresses and manages stress. He said my comment made him feel like I don't understand or accept him for who he is, and honestly, hearing that broke my heart. I feel terrible, but I also can't shake this frustration. I do love him and want him to be happy, but I feel like we're adults now. We should be focusing on bigger things like planning for the future, saving for a house, or maybe even starting a family. I've been biting my tongue for a long time about how much time and money he spends on games, and I guess it finally boiled over. I've apologized profusely, but he's still so hurt and distant. He says it's not just about the comment, it's about how I've been treating him and his hobbies for a long time. Like I see them as a waste of time or something to grow out of. I know I was wrong to say what I said, but I also feel like he's being a little too sensitive. I'm scared this might be the end of our marriage over one bad argument, but maybe I've been more dismissive than I realized. How can I fix this? Or is he being unreasonable? I feel like I'm losing him and I don't know what to do, but I also think I'm not totally wrong here. And she provides a TLDR at the end. I argued with my slightly autistic husband and called him a loser for dedicating a room to video games and board games, which are his passion and stress relief. He's now distant, says I don't respect him or his hobbies, and is reconsidering our marriage. I apologized, but he feels this reflects a long-standing lack of respect. I feel terrible, but also frustrated because I think we should focus on more adult priorities. How can I fix this?
Oh, man. See, this is a tough one. Part of me feels for OP because it was one of those moments. You have those moments in life sometimes where you let your tension bubble up to the surface and you just say something in a moment of heat, and it's something that she clearly regretted saying as soon as it popped out of her mouth. But I think it is just that. It sounds like there's a lot of things in their relationship that are bubbling up to the surface. And because of that, some of her sensitivity to supporting him and his passions and things that he enjoys kind of went out the window in the heat of a moment situation. And sounds like something came out that she maybe regrets.
Yeah, I think that specific part of it is kind of my nightmare. I'm someone who is, and I tell this to anyone who becomes a really close friend with me, I'm like, it's not that I don't want to be honest, but I'm never going to say the harsh thing. Mm-hmm. I watch myself so carefully because even if it's something as trivial as like, oh, your eyebrows are uneven, that's in your head forever now.
Of course.
Because you've said it. It's been said out loud. Like I never want to get into an argument with someone where I say, I hate you, or something like this, because this is my nightmare. Mm-hmm. This saying the thing that she's clearly had this thought for a while now, but now she's said it and he's maybe done. It sounds like he's taking it very personally. He's taking it very hard, which I'm not saying isn't fair of him, mm-hmm. but it's maybe hurt their entire relationship.
And that's really sad. That's a bummer because they're married, right? Not
yeah, they're married.
Girlfriend.
She did say like break up, but they're married, so it's not a breakup.
Yeah, it's a divorce.
It's a divorce. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's really tough because in a relationship too, it would be really difficult being in his shoes where he feels like his partner doesn't support the passions and the things that give him joy as well, because those are things that we hold so close to ourselves of this is your escape, the thing you love to do for fun. And in a relationship, I mean, you would hope that your partner either supports you and is there for you and doing those things, or you would hope that they're right there beside you doing it with you as well. So that's probably really tough for him to comprehend and decompress in his mind that she maybe thinks that the things that he enjoys are childish.
Yeah. I think especially for our generation, millennials and under, there's this idea that's been ingrained in some of us, whether it's from our parents or from society at large or, whatever, that there's a point that you have to let the stuffed animals go or the cute things go or something like that. Like there's a point that you have to become this adult that only wears plain shirts and jeans or a suit to go to work. Like, there's this idea that you have to give away that part of yourself. And for our generation and younger, I see a lot of people pushing back against that. Mm-hmm. Like, I have a lot of friends who wear Legend of Zelda t-shirts and they're in their 30s. And I am known to wear Pokemon shirts and I'm 30. And, you know, there's finally this idea of like, hey, if it makes you a little bit happier to put this on over a plain red t-shirt, let me have it. Like, and I feel sympathetic to this wife for feeling the way she feels, because she's clearly looking at this like, oh, that needs to be a room for a future baby or a future something. But she also really needs to respect her spouse here, and that he consciously has a thing that is a decompression for him that probably helps him operate in their relationship better, and is entertainment and is all these other things. And insulting that or trying to take that away in some way is gonna hurt, because that's a part of him.
That's very true. And I think everyone deserves to have that outlet that they can go to that brings them joy, whether it is going to grab lunch with friends or going on a run, going to play a sport, playing games, whatever that is. His is playing board games and having a collection and having a space to do it. And it stinks that he feels belittled by the way that she thinks of it.
I think that's part of the argument is, where are we supposed to draw the line between what's an acceptable adult hobby and what isn't? Like you mentioned, going for a run, going for lunch with friends. No one's going to question that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to a game store to play Magic the Gathering, I read a bunch of stories about that last night, so that's on my head, on my mind. But then that's when people are like, ugh, childish, lame, loser, you know, and you're like, what? Where's the difference?
Yeah.
Like, what makes one serotonin release more okay than a different serotonin release?
That's a great question. And ultimately in this too, I don't even feel like it really comes down to that. I think that she's just had feelings bubbling up about other things within their relationship. And it sounds like, just from what she shared, that they're not on the same page about saving money. They're not on the same page about budgets, about where they expect their life to be right now with the desire to have kids. It sounds like there's just a lot of things that maybe they need to get a little bit closer on the same page about. And maybe it's a little bit less about the hobby and more about the other disconnections that they're having within their relationship too.
That's true. There's some things in here that could be real problems. You know, what she does say about we should be saving and how much money he spends on board games without real context. We don't know if that's $50 a month or
$5,000.
An amount, right? An amount that actually precludes saving up for buying a house. It's just really hard because it sounds like this is something that's been ongoing. You know, she doesn't clarify that she's brought it up before. And if she hasn't brought it up before, then bringing it up in such a harsh way is going to cut deeply. But if she has brought it up before, then that makes a lot of sense for his reaction, which is like to go further and say, I can't do this anymore. And to say you don't respect, it's a pattern of you not respecting me.
Yeah. And I'm guessing because of his experiences and with him having autism and thinking so high, like this being a big passion for him, I'm sure that he's a little bit more sensitive to all of this in general, but it makes you wonder what else is going on behind the scenes, if this is a repeated conversation, or for him to make that jump straight to divorce, because that's a big deal.
Oh yeah. I'm not lightening how big of a
no
jump that is in any way, but I think hobbies can very much be a part of ourselves,
100%.
part of our identity. I mean, I have several hobbies, but one of the things is that I make things, and My husband has to deal with half of this table being covered in whatever craft it was this week all the time. And he deals with that, and he gets to see all my projects and process and give his opinions. And so it's a huge part of yourselves. And I think it's becoming a huge part of relationships. I mean, now that I'm on Reddit all the time, I'm seeing these stories of, I need a hobby, wife needs a hobby, our hobbies don't mix, like just this different idea. And I think that becomes part of your identity, part of your relationship, all of those things. And it has to be treated with a level of respect and navigation.
It does, for sure. And I can definitely relate to this, kind of like you said. My husband and I are very fortunate in our home. We each have our own room where he's able to go, and he has all of his board games and his office where he can work. And then I have my office where I can work and craft and do things that I enjoy. But I can relate to this story in a sense that if we ever decide that we want to have a kid, I mean, something's got to give. There's going to have to be spatial changes to be able to accommodate and make that happen in our current home. So it's definitely one of those things that it makes you think. It's like, you definitely have to be on the same page with your partner on what the plan of attack is for upcoming months, years, and be on the same page there.
Yeah, for these big future decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the top comment. Even in the aftermath of a very out of line comment, you can't hold back from hoping he changes and having a negative view on his hobbies and stress release. I think this relationship has run its course. You want something else, he can see you want something else, and will not change on command. Maybe at one point you were compatible, but right now you are not. Good for your boyfriend, husband, for seeing through it. He is doing you both a big favor.
Wow, yeah.
I think that is a little bit insightful because, even when she's down here saying I've apologized and I feel like I'm going to lose him, but is he being unreasonable?
Yeah.
So there is still some questioning going on there.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
This is not as respectful of a comment, but it does make a good point. And it says, this is a troll rage bait post, right? I mean, you're on Reddit complaining about geeky hobbies. My husband and I have a large room that's both dedicated to art, anime, and D&D. It's both of our refuge and one of the best rooms in the house. If this isn't a troll, well, expect divorce. It's clear you don't respect your husband and he's tired of it.
Oh, man.
This comment comes from Boo Boo Kitty, FHK. It says, I don't see how this is any different from a craft room or a man cave. Do you want him to have more traditionally manly hobbies or something? People without personal interest in hobbies are boring. Most adults without hobbies or personal interests seem to me to be dependent on others to entertain them and lack personality. People who are independently fulfilling have more to offer and are usually more open to others.
I mean, agreed.
So this one reflects a lot of what you and I were talking about. It says, I am 35 and would love to have a room dedicated to tabletop and video games. Right now, I only have a PC gaming room. All I can say is that you said the one thing a lot of gaming people really hate, and that's thinking what we like is childish. That's why most don't open up and prefer hiding the fact that they're into gaming. And then it quotes a portion of her post. And it says, he said, my comment made him feel like I don't understand or accept him for who he is. And honestly, hearing that broke my heart. That's exactly how I would interpret it. My wife may not take part in my hobbies, but at least she doesn't tear me down for having them. I am guessing he wasn't unhelpful the whole time since you mentioned this being trivial.
Man. So hearing that, I guess it does make me think about this from a different perspective a little bit, in the sense that my initial gut react was that she said something that she didn't mean. But in the event that she did mean it, I mean, I definitely see how that would really hurt him. And in a sense of what this comment also covered, I feel like I have caught myself in different situations just being like, when I meet new people or when I talk to people that don't know me personally, when I think about it, I mean, I do say stuff like, oh yeah, it's kind of nerdy, but my husband and I have 150, like 100 board games.
Yeah.
Like,
you qualify it. You put that little like warning in there that says, oh, it's kind of like,
it's like, why do we have to do that?
Why do we have to diminish our appreciation for something?
Yeah.
Like even when I was getting to write my bio for the podcast and I just had an opportunity to explain why I like board games, it's like, I'm a creator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a design field. And I also grew up with very funny people. Like my dad is hilarious and jokes around and, you know, has favorite movies that he quotes all the time. And that all comes through in a good board game. You get humor. You get something that someone has created and put effort into. You get their art. You get their love for whatever it is. And it comes through. And board games is just a great vehicle that collects all of those different items. And that's where my like appreciation comes from.
I mean, ditto. Same for me. I'm also a creative and I very much admire the time, energy, effort that goes into the games. I think the artwork's beautiful. It's just so cool to think that someone took the time to think of that strategy. And for me as well, it goes back to, I like board games because I grew up playing with my family. There's core memories there. And then as an adult, I met my husband in a group of friends where we played board games every weekend. That was the time when I fell in love with him. So like, I love that I get to have that hobby with him that we can enjoy together. So That's not nerdy. That's cool.
I know. I mean, all things considered, he has very safe and nurturing hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
it could be worse.
It could be so much worse. Well, this is more about actually taking something very personal that happened in a game. This user has since deleted themselves. So, you know, take that as you will. But it's a very good story. So this comes from r/am I the a-hole? And it says, this comes from r/AITA. And it says, am I the problem for laughing while my sister was yelling at me about a board game? Well, me, husband, sister, brother-in-law, younger siblings, parents were playing a game where you read a card and vote as to who best fits the description. One of the cards read something along the lines of, this person is good under pressure. After the votes were counted, my sister, 28, was surprised she hadn't received any votes and said, well, I work at big box store and you kind of have to be able to deal with pressure. And I, 30, am not good at controlling my face. Something I should work on. No one said anything because we all know she has a short fuse, but I apparently gave her a really incredulous look, and she got angry and started going off on me, calling me a jerk and said she's better under pressure than I am. Now the really bad part. She was angrily listing all the reasons she's good under pressure. Again, mainly yelling at me. And I started laughing. I admit, I was not sober. She snapped, demanding to know what was funny. And I said, well, you're kind of proving that you're not good under pressure by yelling about it. And laughed some more. She yelled about how I always ruin everything, said the only reason my husband was voted as being good under pressure is because he has to live with me, and stormed off. I found the whole thing funny. Mom said I shouldn't have said anything. I think my sister is actually the one who ruined things by getting upset about the results of the vote in the first place. But maybe I'm the problem?
Man. So we have a similar game if it's not the same one, but it's called the voting game. And it's a great party game, but we've learned that you have to be very careful about who you play it with. Because if you don't play it with a group of people that you really know them and you know that they're going to be okay with someone being poked fun at or making silly remarks, then you don't want to play that with them. And you also don't want to play with people that you don't know, because in that scenario, a lot of times everyone just votes for whoever tends to be the life of the party. So I think this is funny because he has a point. Clearly, maybe she doesn't do so great under pressure.
Yeah, I think that zinger, it might end up making them the problem, but is maybe worth it to be like, well, you're not proving it right now.
A little comedic relief.
Yeah, those types of games. And there is an edit. The first edit says people have been asking for the game. It's called True Colors.
Okay.
So it's not exactly that one, but it sounds pretty much the same. And there are these party games that do this. Yeah, when something comes up that you feel like you want to be voted as, and then it swings totally the other way. And like, especially if it's something that you feel like the person who gets voted it does not exemplify, I can see people being like, well, like grumbling about it in the car a little bit. But to actually like go off and bring all this baggage into it is kind of crazy.
That is very true. I mean, that is the reason why I don't like to play games like Apples to Apples or things like that, because Cards Against Humanity, because I don't feel like I'm good at it. So it makes me not want to play it because I just feel like I think about those things too literally. And everyone has different viewpoints on, especially in a game like that where you're voting for people specifically. I could see that ruffling some feathers if people aren't thinking about it the same way that you are.
Yeah, I think those types of games specifically, I can't be competitive in.
Yeah.
Because I think we mostly end up playing those types of games with my parents and like my uncles and like in bigger groups of people, you know, usually. And I'll feel like I have the perfect answer.
Yeah.
Like I'll feel like, oh, I've got this. Oh, it's my dad's turn. He's picking. This is what it's going to be.
Surefire.
And then they'll read all the options and they'll really like another one and they'll get to yours and they'll go,
You're like, excuse me? That is not like, the reaction.
No. You're supposed to die laughing. And so I really just have to go, oh, okay.
On to the next.
And just kind of dissociate for a little bit. Because if you get too like convinced of something, then you can, you know, get in that situation. It's very complicated. I mean, there's some people that love those types of games almost exclusively. We had a story in the episode of Jared and Ian where somebody was like, that's my favorite type of game. And then some people who aren't social butterflies usually tend to be like, oh, please don't make me generalize the people in this group. So,
yeah, that's so interesting. I avoid those games at all costs.
And it would be too, like, under pressure. If there is someone in the family who's an ER tech, they're going to get voted for over the person who works at big box store. I don't know who else was in the room. This is not me belittling anybody who works at big box stores, because like especially over pandemic era,
Black Friday, shoot.
Oof, like those people deal with garbage. Like if the question was who can deal with other people's
Karen's
attitudes, you would win hands down. But under pressure, you would think about other jobs that maybe have like a time component.
Yeah.
More a little bit.
Or even not even jobs. Like I think my first instinct would be if there's a medical emergency, who's going to handle it the best? Or if there's a car accident, who's not going to freak out or panic? Like my head wouldn't have gone to jobs immediately.
That's true.
I
That's
don't
very
think
valid.
either.
You would pick a steady person. Clearly not the sister.
Oh, this is kind of a funny one, though.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad we have a funny one.
Yeah.
I'm bringing us back up. Do you want the edit first or some comments?
Let's do the edit.
Okay. So the first edit was saying the name of the game, which is True Colors. Second edit. We know customer service is hard. We're largely a blue-collar family. My mom recently quit her job at a nursing home that was not following safety measures to avoid becoming sick. I work in an area hospital, and my sister, outside of work, has a habit of getting into trouble and expecting others to fix it. The votes weren't so much about her job, which is certainly stressful, but her life in general. We certainly weren't making fun of her job. Thank you for all the responses. May your days be merry and bright, and all your board games be light.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. These people work in hospitals or in a facility with the elderly. I mean, those are more life or death situations that you would have to remain cool under pressure, a little bit higher. It's a little bit more serious than...
Sure. And they're saying, you know, it wasn't even, her job didn't even factor into it at all. It was her life. So I think they made a fair call.
Yeah, valid points.
Okay, here's the top comment. Not the problem. I probably would have laughed too because of the reason you pointed out. She's actively proving that she's not good under pressure by trying to explain why she's good under pressure by yelling. You weren't laughing at her per se, but more the situation. Sounds like she was being very aggressive towards you and you were simply defending yourself. And then it quotes his line where he says, "No one said anything because we all know she has a short fuse." This is an indication that perhaps she shouldn't play these types of games until she learns that they're supposed to be for fun and not direct criticisms.
Yep.
Very true. This makes me think about high school superlatives.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And that was such a nerve-wracking thing for me because I was always known as like the smart person in school. And so there was this one called Most Studious. And I'll rat on myself here to say I was absolutely not the most studious. Like, I did very well in class, but I would have never been the kid that goes up to the teacher and says, you know, hey, I actually think I got this answer kind of right. Or like try to bump myself from a 90 to a 93 or whatever it was, you know? So I would not have called myself that. In fact, there was another friend I had that I really wanted to get that. But superlatives come out as we're voting, and I'm like, it would mean so much to me if anybody gave me anything else. Literally anything else. Like, even if it's most likely to succeed, that's at least a little sideways, and we're going to take it, and we're going to be very happy with it.
And you are most studious.
I was most studious. You know, so I don't love this kind of thing either. Like, I'm a little more open to apples, or what do you meme, or Dixit, or like those kinds of things, because it's not about a person.
No.
But I would not choose a game that is like this about the people.
It's not worth it. Not worth it.
Well, I fear we may only escalate. But at least it's getting more ridiculous as it's escalating. So this is our last proper story. And this comes from Best Redditor Updates. And it says, am I the problem for saying I'd cheat on my wife for more money and a better job? Oh, this is a cute little qualification at the top. And it says, please excuse any poor grammar. English is my first language. I just don't like it. So I, 23 female, and my girlfriend, 21 female, recently went to my family's house for an early Thanksgiving. My family are all amazing cooks and like to assign other people with stuff to bring. I, being a horrid cook, was assigned board games and paper plates.
Self-aware queen.
There you go. This was my first time being told to bring something, and the first time girlfriend would be meeting my parents, so I decided to go all out. Me and girlfriend went to a local game store and bought a few things. Here's the important bit. I got the game of life. Call me nerdy. Not for life. But I like the game so much because I roleplay and act as my character in game. My family likes to join in too, so sometimes it escalates into full-blown improv within a board game. However, I failed to tell girlfriend that I would be acting. That was definitely my bad. The evening was going great. I was introducing girlfriend to my family and they seemed to really like her. Then we busted out the games. We first played Monopoly, which I was also role-playing in with my brother, 28 male, and then we played Life. I was a struggling French man who abandoned college to pursue his dreams. My brother was now my sister, who went to college and hated me. My aunts and my brother's wife were a gang, and girlfriend was just soaking it all in. At some point, brother's wife started to harass me because I married a pink peg. I can't quite remember how it devolved into me saying I'd cheat on the pink peg for more money and a better job, but I'm very aware I said it, and in a very poor French accent at that. I didn't think much of it, given that brother's wife was saying worse things about her blue peg, but on the drive home, girlfriend absolutely blew up on me. Not just loud, stern talking too bad, but I had to pull over in a gas station parking lot because I couldn't focus bad. Girlfriend was mad because if I could do that to a pink peg, then what would I do to her for a better life? She also thought that the French accent was offensive. Parentheses, my family is fully French and so am I, so that really confused me. Maybe it was offensive because it was bad. Since we were already at the gas station, I offered to go inside and grab her some snacks, but she denied and said she would come inside with me. I hoped we could talk it out while we shopped, but instead, every time I would pick something up, girlfriend asked if I would cheat on her for said item. We got home, and she's been giving me the silent treatment ever since. This is the first time she's ever acted like this towards me. I asked some of our friends about it and have gotten mixed opinions. Am I in the wrong here? Any advice on how to get her to talk to me again?
I am so sorry for the girlfriend that took this so seriously, but I think this is hilarious.
I mean, what?
What a way to play life, first of all. Role playing?
Yeah, I'm for putting role playing in regular board games. Let's please do that. And then especially in the game of life where you can, you can
make your whole family.
Just to be French. And I would cheat on my wife for more money. Like, what? Yes. Okay.
Oh, man.
I need to see the video of this.
I mean, it kind of sounds like fun. Like, yeah, I don't know. I do feel bad for her if she really has thoughts in the back of her head that she is serious. Her fake character, he is serious.
Yeah.
And truly who she is as a person. I mean, that's not fun.
Yeah. I hope the update is that the girlfriend is also doing a bit where she's like at the gas station. She's like, would you cheat on me for this bag of Cheetos?
That was what I thought too. And then you said that when they got home, the silent treatment.
Yeah.
She was giving her the silent treatment.
I know. I would love for it to be a bit, but I just don't know.
Oh, man.
Because I would do that if Nate said something like that in a game.
Yeah.
I'd be like, would you cheat on me for chocolate milk?
Yeah, a little back and forth banter. Totally agree.
Okay, so the top comments on the original post. Maybe you should have explained beforehand, but it's literally a plastic peg. I would cheat on it too, and I'm asexual.
Are we allowed to say that?
Not the problem. I think that's fair game. I cut out an F word in there, but...
That's hilarious.
This next one says, I hate cheaters, but for the game, I would too. It's not reality. For the game, I would put a pink peg in, and I'm straight because it's a game and it's not reality.
So true.
The next comment says, yeah, this feels like a mountain of insecurities wrapped up in a person. Someone who could do with a good long bout of therapy and self-examination. Oh, they only get worse. I have to skip this next one because they only get worse. This one says, for real, bad relationship compatibility. OP, you want to play board games and have fun acting. Girlfriend can't handle separating board game play from reality. I was willing to give girlfriend a chance if it was a reality-based questions game, but you were playing life. Pegs in a car. Better to find someone who vibes with you than fights with you over a simple board game.
So this also made an idea or thought pop into my head. This was the first time that she was meeting her family.
Yes.
Can you imagine meeting your significant other's family for the first time and the whole family is playing a board game, but yet you're going to sit out and not play it? Because that's not something that I personally would do. I would be so excited to be able to spend time with my significant other's family that I would try my best to just jump right in and enjoy the fun. So that's also something that's interesting. Maybe there is some compatibility, I don't know, not issues there, but why wasn't she playing the game too? Because then that would have avoided the problem completely.
So it doesn't say explicitly that she didn't play, but it also doesn't reference her at all in the back and forth. So she could have been playing, but just not participating in this imaginary
this banter.
Yeah. Which that would be if I were a first-time girlfriend.
Yeah.
Even if I were not in a same-sex couple, which adds a little bit to this. But if I were a first-time girlfriend and I walked into this situation of these people role-playing very comedically and over the top, I could see myself being a little like, okay. Like,
what did I get myself into?
I could see myself being a little uncomfortable. However, I would not automatically take it very seriously. Okay, ready for the update?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, update 6 weeks later.
Oh.
Hello. I posted here around Thanksgiving asking about a situation between me and my girlfriend. Thank you guys for the advice. It helped me have an important talk with girlfriend that I needed to have. Here's a super quick rundown of the OG post. I and my girlfriend went to my family's house for an early Thanksgiving. She and I brought the game of life instead of a dish, and the game ended up with me and my family acting as our game characters. In character, I said that I'd cheat on the pink peg I married for more money and a better job. On the way home, girlfriend started screaming at me for what I said, then gave me the silent treatment. Am I the problem? I should mention, the official ruling in the original post was not the problem.
Okay.
I'm sure there's no surprise there.
Yeah.
A few days after the original post, I asked girlfriend to sit down on the couch with me and discuss the situation. It was like talking to a rock. She just sat there with her arms crossed as I talked about how much I disliked the silent treatment. I ended it with saying, if refusing to talk to me is the only way you'll face problems, then it may be best if we break up.
Oh.
That caught her attention because she started screaming at me again about how breaking up over something so little was immature and that I was blowing this entire thing out of proportion. The entire argument ended with her storming out of our house and screaming that we were over. That happened at the beginning of this month, and I wasn't going to update, but something happened last night that made me post this. She hadn't moved her stuff out and asked me to come over while I was gone to collect it. I told her she could come over that evening. When I returned home, multiple of my things, books, clothes, hair products, jewelry, and dishes were gone, including my cat, and none of his stuff. I am so stressed. He's a Savannah cat, and since she's staying at a friend's apartment, I know he has no space and zero enrichment. I'm thankful that he'll tear that place to shreds, but they don't have the means to take care of him, and he may be in danger. If you have any advice on how to get my cat back, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm devastated that I may spend New Year's without him. TLDR, girlfriend broke up with me over a board game and stole my exotic cat. Advice needed.
That escalated to a whole nother level extremely quickly.
Yeah, I mean, this person just seems unstable, I think.
Yeah.
To be legitimately set off by a board game and then to take an animal.
Yeah.
2 strikes.
That's not where I saw this story going.
Oh my gosh, how crazy. The top comment on the Best of Redditor compilation. Once upon a time, I was playing Sims 2 and made my character the resident bicycle since they proposed and married someone else I didn't want them to. Does this mean that I'd cheat on my partner? Nope. Things that happen during a game is just that, a game. And in the game of life, you're going through the board while living a fictional life. The ex is crazy and immature. OP needs to grow a backbone and call the cops if her things are stolen.
I mean, charades, D&D, any game that you're acting, it's a game. It's not real life.
Someone responds to that and says, good Lord, if she can't separate what people do in games from what they're willing to do in real life, I hope she never dates someone that plays Dwarf Fortress. More comments. Or World of Warcraft.
Fair. Your game strategy is not who you are as a person.
Here's a comment on that. It says, okay, so the update isn't surprising, but I'm at a loss as to why OP's first thought when their stuff and pet got stolen wasn't to call the police. Why come to Reddit and update a story and ask, what should I do, when it's glaringly obvious you call the cops?
Who would have known that talking in a French accent about your fake character would result in this?
I want to see the opposite post where it's like, I was playing a game of life with my girlfriend and warned that I would steal her pet for more money and a better job. And then I did.
See the result. Well, that turned out really funny and then turned out not so great.
So we've had some overreactions about stuff that happens in games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now we're just going to read a short bit about that and some people's opinions from r/board games. So this comes from r/board games. Why do some people get emotionally involved with board games? Most of my life, I've been playing board games with the same few groups of people. The consistent theme between the groups is we all like games where we can directly interact, fight, and have epic stories of betrayals and backstabbing that can be told for years. Yet, I see on a lot of forums people talking about how board game-related arguments have actually caused fights between family and friends and resulted in serious upsets. Then usually ending with rules being put in place for things like no lying allowed, no breaking agreements, no backstabbing, etc. Basically rules made to protect people's feelings. More recently, I actually joined a group like that, and they went through all the rules with me before playing. I just lost quickly on purpose and left, as I felt uncomfortable around people who seemed so emotionally fragile. So why is it that some people get emotionally invested in their games and take it personally when anything goes against them? But others just play games for fun and can roleplay as backstabbing, betraying, and so on, but it doesn't affect real-life relationships.
Honestly, I mean, I resonate with this a lot. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, there was a time in life where my husband and I just had this, right when we first met, had this great group of friends that we played board games with. And I feel like it really comes down to you being in the same mindset of all the people that you're playing with. And it was so awesome. We would have banter back and forth. We would play. Everyone respected some good strategy and some great moves. It was just a fun group to play games with, and we gelled really well. And we did it every weekend. We got together, played games, brought our dogs over. It was a really fun thing that we really enjoyed doing. But as we've moved different places, board games for us have always been something that we've loved. But when you introduce new people into it, you never know what type of mindset they're going to have when they start to play a game. Even if they're not familiar with board games in general, it's always different than with people who are. And it just really comes down to sometimes you have that good group of people that you can play with that you really gel with, and it's a really fun experience. But when you bring people in who maybe aren't as familiar, get frazzled because they don't understand the strategy, get upset because they don't know all the rules, or maybe don't even want to be playing a board game to begin with, like in a lot of family situations, maybe everyone doesn't want to play a board game. I could see where that is how the disconnect may start, and maybe some people could have feathers ruffled or be in a situation where they're not having as much fun.
I think in general, I can adapt to whatever the game is. Mm-hmm. If the game is something that involves a trade or mechanic, cool.
Yeah.
Like I'll figure that out. I mean, I really struggle to play like chaotic and especially chaotic evil characters in anything, in role-playing games, in Fallout. Nate got me into Fallout, and I felt weird about romancing multiple companions. And then when I did, I was like, okay, well, you have to stay in separate settlements. I can't put my 2 romance partners in this. Like, it was so stupid. But also, that's just how I am.
Yeah.
Like, I struggle to be that way. Even my D&D characters end up having very noble, compassionate types of tilts to them.
Some facets of your personality at your core.
Because I struggle. That's never my first thought. It's never my first thought to go a chaotic route or a sabotage route or something like that. So I'm not good. If I draw the traitor card in a game that has that mechanic, I'm like,
I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do it. Like, I remember, I think one of the first ones I was introduced with that was Bang. And even when I'm just, well, no, being the renegade is fine because you can just pretend to be a good guy. But when I was the outlaws, I was like, no, don't make me do this. Because I know I don't have a good poker face, and I, you know, so I know I'm a little bit more sensitive. Well, I don't know that I would call it sensitive.
But you would not be playing life and speaking in a French accent and saying that you would cheat on your spouse.
I mean, I might. Because that would be so over the top and so ridiculous.
That's
but if
fair.
it was, I mean, as we've discussed, I don't love social deduction like werewolf because I'm bad at like sniping people and, you know, cutting people off. And in a good gaming group, I'm very comfortable and I can adjust to whatever. But if we were in one of these games where you're having to describe other people or assign descriptions to other people at the table, even in my regular gaming groups, if there was someone that took a shot at me, there's a very likely chance that I'm gonna be complaining about that on the way home. Like,
I can't believe she said that.
Yeah, you know, like there's some people who I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, you can have it. And then there's some people who be like, how dare you?
That hit too close to home.
You do not have any right. So
I don't know what it says about me. Probably not good things, but I love me a good game of Secret Hitler. And I actually don't mind being that character because it's a little bit of a challenge for me internally and in the back of my head to not make certain facial expressions, not say certain things. Like, I think it's fun. Like I said, I don't know what that says about me.
Hey, I think that's fair game. And as I DM in D&D, I am not afraid to do something absolutely heart-wrenching for the story. Like, I gave a player a challenge in a session a while back where the villain had offered them a boon. Like, okay, you and I why don't we have a reciprocal relationship? And the player was like, no, I know you're the bad guy. And so the villain was like, all right, well, then I guess I just have to demonstrate why you're not on my level. And they said, say a name. And the player immediately knew, no, and just tried to be quiet. And it was this horrible 5 to 10 minutes where they made it of not saying names.
Oh no.
But they ended up talking to people, and they were talking to someone who was a mother figure to them. And they said, well, he's not going to come for you, Mom. And I went, oh, brother, no. I was like, you said a name. So, like, I can do it if that's what my job is.
I think maybe that's why I like it, because if you don't have a person that's willing to do that for the game, then it's not as fun of a game. Like, it's so much more fun when you have people who are willing to go all into that when it's deemed necessary.
Yeah.
To, like you said, kind of push along the strategy or the story of the game.
And that's a setting that I was very comfortable in.
Yeah.
Had there been, I would never do something like that in one of your initial entrance to role playing. I would not do that. But I was doing it with someone who's a seasoned player and who knew something could be figured out. Like there was a plan.
Yeah.
Or could handle it not being figured out. So it's a comfort level thing, I think.
It is. And I mean, that aligns with what I said earlier too. It's like if you're playing games with the same people weekend on end and you're familiar with who they are, how they're going to react, what the vibe is of the room, then it's a lot easier to do those things and less feelings get hurt than it's different people.
Just taking the temperature.
Very true.
I'll pick a comment. This is from Aegis Toast. Cool name.
Love hearing people's Reddit names.
Yeah, I don't read all of them because a lot of them have innuendos.
Profanity.
So I can't read all of them, but this is from Aegis Toast. Some people take things more personally than others, and everyone has a different skin thickness, so to speak. Anecdotally, my family and I have very thick skin and are frequently sarcastic. We make jokes at each other's expense all the time. We never take it very personally. It's just that making barbs at each other is part of the way we interact. At one point, a girl I was dating told me that some little sarcastic comment I had made about her earlier actually really hurt her feelings. As it turns out, she takes things more personally and doesn't do well with those kinds of jokes, even if they weren't intended to be mean. I had to learn to change my sense of humor a bit to be sensitive to her. And I did. We've been married for 10 years. There are some types of games, or more broadly, experiences, that just hit some people a little differently than others. Not every game is for everyone, and I figure it's part of my job as the guy whose collection we're using to try to find the game that fits the group instead of trying to force the group to fit the game.
That's a great comment. I like that a lot because he is right. You do have to pick the right game, and also right in the sense that everyone receives things differently depending on if they've had a bad day, if they've had a good day, what's going on in their life outside of playing this game. So I agree with everything that was said there. Some fun stories.
Yeah, I like ending on that comment because it's a very succinct and a very when you adapt to other people and their levels, you can make it work. And you want to find a game that fits the group instead of trying to force the group to fit the game.
I love that.
I love that too. Well, those are our stories on today's table topic. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Tell us about it. Maybe you have a story of your own you want to share. We'd love to bring it to the table. Check out our links in the show notes. Good luck on your next game, and we'll catch you again here on Table Topics.